If you're watching this video, you're probably wondering yourself on how my new mod integrated storage works. But if you don't know what integrated storage is, what are you doing? Check out Curseforge right now. But to summarize it real quick, it's an attempt to recreate the Java Applied Logistics 2 mod, but in the Bedrock edition. Yeah. Obviously I was only able to do the bare minimum due to the limitations of the Bedrock edition. But keep an eye out for those updates, because my goal is to recreate almost every single feature of the mod. But how do you actually now build the storage system? Well, if you're only here to see how it works, then all you need to do is to grab a disk drive, as well as a terminal and a storage cell from your creative inventory. And then all you need to do is to place the disk drive, then the ME terminal on top of it, and put the storage cell into the disk drive. And voila, you can start putting items in the terminal. And the main reason why you want to do this is because the terminal can actually hold item stacks over 64 items, which makes it incredibly convenient to store items in. If you happen to break the system, you will notice that all of your items are actually stored on the disk, so they are never truly lost and can be migrated to new places easily. Alright, now that you know the basic concept, you are probably wondering yourself on how you can actually craft one of those systems in your survival world. Alright, to start, one of the most important resources are the Certus quartz crystals. They come in two forms, the normal one and the charged one. Both variants can be found just by exploring caves. But if you're unlucky, you can always just craft a charger like this and charge the normal Certus quartz into charged ones. But to process this quartz, we're gonna need a new machine. And one ingredient for that is the wooden gear. And with the wooden gear crafted, we can now craft our second machine, which is the quartz grindstone. And with the machine placed, we can grind various materials into its pulverized forms, including Certus quartz. But for the next recipe, we're actually gonna need another material, and that is the Fluix crystal. And you get that by using charged Certus quartz, redstone quartz. Note that this cannot be the normal quartz, it has to be the charged variant. And then you will just have to throw the materials into some water. With that Fluix crystal, we can now craft one of the most powerful machines, and that is the inscriber. The inscriber has quite the complicated interface, but for that there is a recipe book with all the recipes. You'll see that most of the recipes require those presses, but how do we actually get them? For that you need to do a little bit of exploration, because in the ground there is a chance that a meteorite will spawn, and inside the center of the meteorite there's a chest containing at least one press and some other dungeon loot. And if you're feeling lucky, you can use a brush and brush the suspicious gravel and also get a chance to get some loot and even a press maybe. One other really important resource is gonna be silicon, which you can just obtain by smelting Certus quartz dust. But let's try to get a processor, as they are a really important resource for the next recipes. The calculation processor can be made with both charged and non-charged Certus quartz. But to make the print into an actual processor, we are also gonna need a silicon print, which is why we just smelted the silicon. And if we combine the silicon press with the silicon, we get printed silicon. And if we combine it with a processor print and redstone, we get a calculation processor. And this logic also applies to every other processor. So you will always need to print, redstone and the silicon. Now let's make ourselves some glass cables. And to make them, we're gonna need quartz fiber, which we can get by putting 6 glass and 3 crushed Certus quartz dust in the crafting table like this. But don't confuse these cables for the real cables, because they are just a crafting ingredient for the real ME cables, which you can get by combining them with Fluix crystals. And with these cables, we can actually now craft one of the two important machines, which is the disk drive. For which we need to take 2 of our glass cables that we just crafted and 4 iron, as well as 2 engineering processors, and that will reward us the disk drive, which we then can place and hook it up to our network with the excess glass cables we have. But wait, aren't we missing something? That's right, we still need a terminal. So let's try to craft that. A very important resource for the next crafts is gonna be quartz glass, which we can get by placing glass and certus quartz dust in a TNT-like shape. And yes, this glass can actually be used as regular glass, and it even like connects to each other. Okay, now with that quartz glass and some basic materials such as glowstone, redstone and iron, we can get an illuminated panel. That on itself doesn't really do anything, but it does emit light. But no, we're gonna need it later on for the terminal recipe. But first of all, we have to get some more ingredients first. Putting fluix dust, which we can get by using the quartz grindstone, certus quartz and a logic processor together will get us a formation core. Doing the same recipe but with nether quartz on the other hand will get us an annihilation core. And now if we combine everything we have, that is the formation core, the annihilation core, the bright illuminated panel and an additional logic processor, we can actually craft ourselves the terminal. But when you try to put items into a system, you will see that it's not quite working, and that's because we don't have any storage cells yet. Storage is made up of so-called components. They can have different sizes. To get the 1K component, which is the smallest one, we're gonna have to use 4 redstone, 4 certus quartz and another logic processor, and we will get the 1K ME storage component. From here we have 2 options. We can either make the component into an actual storage cell that we can use in the disk drive by creating a storage housing, which we can get by placing redstone, iron and even more quartz glass. Combining that storage housing with any component will get us a storage disk, which we can directly put into a disk drive and finally put items into the system. Oh my god, it feels so good. But we will notice that we hit a limit pretty fast. Because if we look at the disk, we can see that both the types and the bytes are almost full. Only one of those two has to be somewhat full for the system to not work properly. The bytes describe how complex an item is and also how many items are in the system, while the types reflect on how many different items are in the system. So that's obviously not ideal. But we can actually expand the storage almost infinitely. And we can do that by, while doing the second option, which is crafting up those storage components into higher storage components. Using even more redstone, the 1Ks, as well as a calculation processor and a quartz glass, we can actually now craft ourselves a 4K storage component. And once again we have the option to upgrade it or turn it into a storage cell. Upgrading it is pretty similar. It's literally just the recipe for the 4K, but instead of the 1K components, we use the 4K components, and instead of redstone, we use glowstone. And finally, putting two 16Ks together will give us a 32K component, which is actually the highest component that is available in this pack. If you're wondering why the limit is only 32K instead of 64K, it's actually quite technical, because Bedrock really likes the 32K limit, so it's way easier to program with that in mind. And once again we can craft the components into disks. I'm not gonna do it because we already did it for the 1Ks. And yeah, we now have more storage than ever and can put all our items in here. Whoa, that was definitely a lot. But hey, you can always use the in-game recipe book, watch the video again, or even go check out my Discord server. We also have some dedicated guides on there. But regardless of that, you should consider joining my Discord server, just so you know. And yeah, that's actually it with the video. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, write a comment, and bye bye.